Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alaih. Wa na'udzu billahi min sururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. May yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa may yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam tabaraka wa salama tasliman kasiran kasira amma ba'd. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa man ahsanu qawlan mimman da'a ila Allah wa amila salihan wa qala innani minal muslimin. My dear brothers and respected elders and sisters, we are Muslim, which means we are the person who are willing to suppress our entire desire in order to fulfill the desire of Allah. Those who can submit wholly and totally to the desire of Allah are called Muslim. But now we generally use the word Muslim to connote those who have recited the kalima. So whoever have recited the kalima, we call them Muslim. But in the Quran, Allah have said that those who have recited the kalima are known as a person who has entered Islam. So it is quite, difficult. The sentence are long. Person who has entered Islam. You will call we are the person who have entered Islam. It's a long words. So people usually use the word Muslim. But in reality, Muslim is not a person who has recited the kalima only, but a person who has the great kalima has entered to his heart to the level which Allah is pleased, and even more. So, qala innani minal muslimin. So our names actually Muslim. We should become Muslim. Muslim is not a person who have recited the kalima only, as we generally understand it today. We call a person a Muslim is because he has recited the kalima. But actually, those who have recited the kalima are called who has entered Islam, or who have tried to embrace Islam. Who have tried. The Iman has not entered into his heart. A Muslim is different. Muslim Iman has entered. But we have to use it because it's commonly used. Muslim as a person who have recited the kalima. But in the Quran, وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling that a person who is Muslim is a person who are doing the work of inviting people to Allah and have good action. وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Whose words are better than the words of people calling or inviting to Allah, who do good deeds and who say, I am a Muslim. A Muslim is the one who surrendered his desire completely to the desire of Allah, who able to suppress his desire in order to fulfill the desire of Allah. Complete submission to the desire of Allah. In order to be able to do that, a person must have true Iman and faith in Allah. And in order to be able to attain the true faith in Allah, a person needs to do the work of inviting people to Allah, or the work of inviting people to good and forbidding people from evils, which the sacrifice of his own time and wealth in the way Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and with the intention to please Allah. He has or she has to do that work. Then only he will be able to attain the kalima, the level of kalima in his heart, to the level which Allah is pleased and more. Then only he can obey the orders of Allah in the way Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, with the intention to please Allah, which are known as good deeds. And when a person who believes in Allah and have good deeds, then they are non-Muslim. So our name is Muslim when we obey the order of Allah, the main order of Allah, the first order of Allah after we have recited the great kalima. After we recited the great kalima, we have to do that order. The order to call, to invite people to Allah, or the order to invite people to good, forbidding people from evil, with the sacrifice of our own wealth and time. But this has been forgotten, has not been made known or been made to be practiced by all the Muslims since, I do not know, since time after the death of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The work has been forgotten. No one knows prior to this. I'm telling you that the first order after reciting the kalima is to do the work of inviting people to Allah, or inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil. I'm the first one in the whole entire world. So who I am now? Am I a normal person or ordinary man? Or some special person? I'm not normal, otherwise I would not be able to be given the understanding that the first order of Allah after reciting the kalima is not to perform salat as normally understood by all Muslims since centuries. No one knows. Neither do I prior to this. I only tend to understand this about 20 years ago. 25 years ago. Before that, I don't know, so I understand as others understand. As the whole entire Muslim understand. The scholars or not scholars, the so-called ulama or not, the ordinary people, all understand that after reciting the kalima, the first order is to pray 5 times daily. This is the normally things which are understood. That's why when any people become Muslim, they told them the next thing you have to do, you have to pray 5 times a day. The work of inviting people to Allah or the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people is never mentioned before this. Prior to I'm telling you all, never mentioned by anyone in the whole world. Never. This is the great mistake which the devils have successfully made us to understand that the first order of Allah after reciting the kalima is salat. And it is not true. This is the reason as to why we will never get khushu in salat. No one in the whole world able to achieve khushu salat since so many years, decades, centuries. The first to be taken out from this earth is khushu in salat. It is mentioned in the hadith. That means it is very something which are given by Allah when Muslims are able to attain a very high level of iman. Okay? When Muslims are not doing the work of inviting people to Allah, are not doing the work of inviting people to forbidding people from evil, their iman decreases. And the first thing being taken out from that is the khushu' in prayer. To have khushu' in prayer, it's not sufficient to become the true believer, the good deeds of the lower level of iman, which Allah is pleased. It needs to have a very high level of iman. So that's why very few people in this world are having khushu'. Nowadays there's none except me. Now, at the moment, there's no one in the whole world except me. So everybody are making salat. They make salat tahajjud, make salat duha. They make all sorts of sunat or non-obligatory prayers and obligatory prayers. They even pray tahajjud, they perform salat in the mosque. Yet their salat is not khushu'. They'll never be able to achieve khushu' in salat. They've been doing that, praying in the mosque, praying all the sunat, praying tahajjud for nearly 20, 30 years, 40 years. At the end, they still don't have the khushu' of salat. Because it is so, in order to be given the khushu' in salat, your iman has to be very, 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 very high. Almost close to become the lover of Allah. Otherwise, you can't. What is khushu' in salat? Devotion and concentration. Or remembering Allah throughout the salat. Remembering Allah throughout the salat, or devotion and concentration, or is also known as ihsan and ihtisab. Ihsan means to realize that Allah is watching you, or you are prostrating before Allah. Ihsan. Either you are thinking that you are in front of Allah, or Allah is seeing you. You have ihsan and you have ihtisab. Believe in the promise of Allah. Then you have khushu'. Then you have devotion and concentration. Then you have the remembrance of Allah. So, salat with no khushu', no remembrance of Allah, no ihsan, no ihtisab, no concentration, no devotion. Okay? So, he may have sincerity. A person with a true believer, the good deeds of the lower level of iman, in order to become the true believer, you must attain the level of iman which Allah is pleased. But if you are in the lower level of the true believer deeds or the middle level, you may not be able to get khushu'. In order to gain khushu', you must be the true believer of good deeds with a very, very, very high level of iman. So those people here in front of me, they are doing the work of inviting people to Allah, inviting people to good and forbidding people for so many years. They are following me, and yet only one person able to attain, to become the true believer with good deeds of the lower level of iman, not so high. That is Abdul Samad, and he has no khushu' in salat. You know, the person like Yazid and Rashidi and Pendi never get khushu' in salat. And Hanzala and Sufyan don't have. Every time of salat, I ask them, do you have khushu'? No. You have khushu'? No. Same answer. Why? Because they are not given khushu' by Allah. Why Allah do not give them? Because their iman are weak. They are not even the true believers with the good deeds. Someone is also a true believers with the good deed, but not of the high level. So you need to have a very much higher level of iman. in order for Allah to give you khusyuk. So the worst thing that are taken up from this world, is khusyuk in salat. The Prophet ﷺ said. At the time of Rasulullah, there are many people who have khusyuk in salat. They have very level of iman, high level. They are not only true believers good deed, but true believers good deed with very high level of iman. So Allah give them khusyuk. But you guys are not true believers good deeds, and also true believers good deeds with very low level of iman or medium level. Then you will not be given khusyuk. You don't enjoy your prayer, isn't it? When you pray, you have no khusyuk. You should remember so many things. How could you enjoy your prayer? You enjoy? Huh? You don't. Naturally, you don't enjoy your prayer because you don't even see that you are being watched by Allah, or you are prostrating before Allah. You are just prostrating in front of the wall. When you recite all the verses which are to be recited in prayer, you don't even understand what it means. You can't even remember when you are reciting it, what you are reciting. Isn't it, sir? You don't even remember what you are reciting. When you say Sami Allahu liman hamidah, you don't know. When you say Rabbana lakal hamd, Sami Allahu subhana rabbiyal a'la wa bihamdi, you don't really know what you are talking. Simply saying. So it's just like a person talking while sleeping, not knowing what you are talking, only talking. So Sufyan salat is like that. From the time when he started to pray, which is about 2 years ago, when he didn't stop praying. Before that, he sometimes pray, sometimes do not pray, and he's now 46, 47. What a shame. And so, that is Sufyan. Samad, he said he started praying at the age of 10, but that time he's praying, not praying. But he started praying, not stopping from praying at the age of 25. Now he's 45. 30 years has been praying without fail. And even in the mosque with Jamaat, he doesn't have khusyuk in salat. And Rashidi has been praying since 15 years of age until now. How many years? He's about 45. 40 years without khusyuk. And Yazid, how many years? 10 years without khusyuk. You? 3 years without khusyuk. The worst is all of you. 20 years, 30 years, even 60 years, no khusyuk. So you must be worried. We all must be worried. The only person who have khusyuk in the world now, only one person, that is me. And the people who are praying with me, they have no khusyuk, their salat are actually not accepted. But because by virtue of the fact they are praying with me, Allah accepted my prayer, and by virtue of that, Allah also accepted their prayer. If I become the Imam of the whole world in Haji, my Haji is accepted, as well as all those Hajis who are performing Haji with me. Because my prayer is accepted, my Haji is accepted. If your prayer is not accepted, your Haji will not be accepted. Because most of the time, you are praying. And of course, if your prayer is not accepted, how could other actions are accepted? Other orders of Allah which you are performing, it cannot be. It has to be, the salat must be accepted. In order for the salat to be accepted, at least he must have sincerity. He must become a true believer of the good deeds. But if he has become true believer of good deeds with very high level iman, then Allah will give him sincerity and khusyuk in salat. Salat with this khusyuk will be able to prevent the doer of the prayer from doing evil deeds. Only having sincerity, no. Okay? Or you need to be khusyuk and sincere. Then only your prayer will have the power to prevent you from doing evil deeds. Then only your prayer will become a means to solve your problem. Allah says, solve your problem by praying and patient. You know? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, perform prayer when you are in any difficulties. Wasta'inu bis-sabri was-salah. You perform salat and you have sabar. And these two qualities, are only with those who are the true believers of good deeds of very high level of iman, who have khusyuk in salat. Those people who have only like Saman, true believers of good deeds of the low level of iman, will not have khusyuk. His salat will not be able to prevent him from evil deeds, will not be able to become the means to solve his problem. Inna salata tanha anil fahsya'i wal munkar. That will not fit him. Many people are praying, but their praying cannot prevent them from evil deeds. Many people are praying, but they are not having the salat which they can use as a means to solve their problems. Because the salat has not attained sincerity and khusyuk, or concentration and devotion. So what a great blessing of Allah if we are given, the salat with sincerity and khusyuk. We'll have pleasure making salat. We'll have pleasure doing prayer. That's why the Prophet ﷺ was praying for a very, very long time. The companion of the Sahaba too are praying, for so long, not so long, but at least. Because they have attained pleasure. Why they attain pleasure? Because they are with Allah. When they are prayer, they are thinking. They are having the impression that they are prostrating before Allah, standing before Allah, or Allah is seeing them. So Allah told us to do prayer like that. The Prophet ﷺ told us, you pray as if you are standing before Allah. If not, you are praying as if Allah is watching you. But until today, for so many years, we have been praying, we are not able to attain that prayer. Why? The question is why? It's because we don't attain the level of iman, which will make Allah to award us with that qualities of prayer. A very simple reason. Why Allah do not award with that iman? Because we do not obey the very obligatory orders of Allah. The first order of Allah, which is the order to invite people to Allah, which Allah says, whose words are better? وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ. We are not doing the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evils, with the sacrifice of our own time and wealth. We are only after reciting the kalima, praying. We are praying so many times, and we are thinking we are very pious, and yet our salat are not khusyuk. Those who have no khusyuk in salat, don't ever think that you are pious. You are not pious. How can you are pious when your salat are not having khusyuk? are not having devotion and concentration. Salat is most important. Order being questioned in Mashar. If the salat is okay, then everything will be okay. Iman will be asked in qabr. Okay? So Allah do not ask us whether we do the work of inviting people to Allah or calling people, inviting people to good people, inviting people. Allah do not ask us this. But Allah asks our iman. Iman is the outcome of the work. Of ta'muru nabi ma'ruf wa tanhaw 'anil munkar is the outcome of the work of inviting people to Allah, inviting people to good, forbidding people. So there's no point asking that question, but only to ask Allah. Allah only asks iman. What is your God? The munkar, there is two angels, the munkar and the nakir in the grave. Munkar will ask, who is your God? What is your God? If you say Allah, then the nakir will ask, what's the proof that Allah is your God? The proof is when we do the work of inviting people to Allah. You see? When we do the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil. These very few people have mentioned this. There is one question, what is your God? The second question, if you say yes, what is the proof? The angel of Nakir will say, what is the proof? The proof that Allah is our God is we invite people to Allah. So the first thing that we have to do after reciting the kalima, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, is we have to do the work that will prove to us that Allah is our God. And that work is the work of inviting people to Allah. Not like Sufyan. He's not doing the work properly. He's doing the work lazily. And as a result, he has not attained the level of Iman which he is supposed to be able to obtain if he is doing the work correctly. To do the work incorrectly is the same as not doing it. We are only doing the work if we do the work correctly. If not, otherwise we are not having any outcome. The outcome of the work of inviting people to Allah is Iman. Inviting people to good, forbidding people, we sacrifice our time and wealth, is Iman. Only if the work is done in the way Muhammad SAW, we sacrifice our wealth and time, and with the intention to please Allah until Allah is pleased with us. Nowadays, Muslims not even doing the work. How can they attain the level of Iman that will enable them to have khushu in prayer? They will never be able. They don't even do the work. They only pray. The Jewish scholars and the Christian scholars have deleted this hadith, If you look at Bukhari Muslim, which is supposed to be the authentic book of hadith for the Muslim, you cannot find even one hadith on the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people. Has completely been deleted. So that Muslim will not do the work of inviting people to Allah. But in the Quran, there is abundance of verses, innumerable numbers of verses mentioning about the work of inviting people to Allah, inviting people to good, forbidding people. So many, and yet none in Bukhari Muslim. And then what do you think about the Kitab of Bukhari Muslim? If it's not a book written by the Jewish scholars who pretended to become Muslims. The Jewish scholars are the devils. They are the companions of the devil Satan. They are the companion. They are the enemies of the Muslim, enemies of the believers. Because they have become the companion of the devil Satan. They want to make everybody not to believe in Allah. Everybody will go to hellfire. So the Shaitan, our enemies, The scholars of the Jews and the Christians are the companions of the evil Satan. And they are the one who are distorting the Hadith, distorting the Torah and the Injil. They try to distort Quran, but they are not able to do so. So in order to create confusion and to confound the truths which are mentioned in the Quran, they make false hadiths, or they deleted those important hadiths. So that people will say, that is in the Quran. That is in the Quran but not in the hadith. That is in the hadith but not in the Quran. In this way, they are hoping that people will not believe that the Quran is the book of Allah and Muhammad is not the prophet of Allah. The Jews are so jealous of Muhammad Sallam, are so jealous. Why? Because Muhammad is not in the Jews. He is an illiterate Arab, and yet he has been chosen to become the last prophet of Allah. They really cannot take it. The Jewish scholars really are not able to take it. They are hoping that Allah will choose one from among them. How can Allah choose one from among them when most of them, and almost, has already become unbelievers? When they don't believe Isa is the prophet of Allah. When they are trying to kill Prophet Isa, they don't accept Prophet Isa. How can he become a believer? And then how can they are accepted to become the last prophet of Allah? They can never be selected. So Allah chooses Muhammad, who is an Arab, illiterate. He's not an idol worshipper. He never worship idol. But he is not Jewish. He doesn't read Quran. He doesn't read Torah and Injil. Doesn't know. And yet Allah is able to turn Muhammad, in illiterate Arabs, to become the most learned, the last prophet of Allah. So the Jews are very angry with Allah. They are very angry with Allah, the Jewish scholars. So for not selecting them, they were very proud before the birth of Muhammad, before the coming of Muhammad. They used to say to the Arabs, so the last prophet will come around here. They will be living in Medina. They are one from among us. Because they are the one who read the Torah. They read the Torah. The distorted Torah. And yet, when the truth has been revealed, the last prophet of Allah is not the Jews, scholars, but Muhammad is an illiterate Arab. That's why they become very jealous, very angry with Allah. So they're trying all their effort to deviate the Muslim, to make them kuffar, to make them disbelievers, to make them not able to become the true believers with this. Together with the shaitan, they are working hard, day and night, to distort the hadith. So there are some true hadith mixed with the false hadith. In this way, they make people become confused, confounded with the true hadith. So as a result, those Muslims who are practicing the false hadith will become deviated from the true path. There are very few hadiths written about the work of inviting people to good, forbidding from people. The first book written about these hadiths are in Fadilat Amal, written by Maulana Zakaria, at the order of Maulana Ilyas Rahmatullah. Is the first person who has ordered that hadith on the work of Ta'muruna bil Ma'ruf wa Tanhauna to be written, circulated among Muslims. Before that, none. There is none in the books of hadith which has collected the hadith on the work of inviting people to Allah, inviting people to good, forbidding good. Even in the Fadilat Amal, the kitab on the hadith of Ta'muruna bil Ma'ruf wa Tanhauna is written in the last section of the book, not the most important. Whereas the order to do the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people is not the last order. It's the order after reciting the kalimah. It's the first order of Allah. It should be put in the first section of the book of Fadilat Amal. Only now, when I wrote the hadith, the 7 books of hadith, I put the hadith on the work of Ta'muruna bil Ma'ruf wa Tanha 'anil Munkar, the first hadith, the first book. The second book on the 5 prayers. The third is on Salat of Tahajjud. The fourth is on reading the Quran. The fifth is on sacrificing your wealth, giving zakat and sadaqah. And the sixth on fasting. And the seventh on Hajj. In this order, then we are telling to the whole world that the order of the work of inviting people to Allah, the order to do the work of inviting people to good and forbidding people is the first order of Allah after reciting the kalima. You must read these hadith books of mine in your homes, within your family, in your mosque, because it will make you to be able to understand. This is the true Islam. Islam is, the foundation is kalima, la ilaha illallah Muhammad. In order for the kalima to be embedded into your heart, to become the foundation of your religion, you have to do, after reciting the kalima, the most important obligatory order of Allah, which is the order to do the work of inviting people to Allah, or the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from bad, from evil, with the sacrifice of your own wealth and time, and the way Muhammad Sallam with the intention to please Allah until Allah is pleased. For doing this work, you cannot learn it by reading the book. You have to come to Malaysia to learn it by watching it, by following it. And at the moment you can open my blog, profnasoha.com, and you look at the scripts that you have to say when you are talking to the non-Muslim, the word that you have to say when you are talking to Muslim, and the word that you have to say when you are making dua in front of the house of the non-Muslim, and the dua which you have to read in front of the house of Muslim. You remember this first. Then you come to Malaysia and you learn the work. Then you go back to your home, to your country, and invite others to do the same. The whole Muslim have to turn back to the real Islam at the time of Muhammad Sallam. When during that time, everyone who have recited the kalima do the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil. Abu Bakar radhiyallahu anhu, Muhammad Ilyas asked Rasulullah after he has recited the kalima. He said, what else I have to do? Is there anything else? So Rasulullah told him, after reciting kalima, you do the work which you saw I'm doing. So to learn the work, you have to see the work. You have to come to Malaysia. Abu Bakar is able to see Nabi to do the work, but you are not able to see anybody doing the work in your country. You have to come to Malaysia. You like it or you don't, you come. Malaysia is a beautiful country. It's a very nice country, very interesting country. At the same time, besides learning the work, you can also, after finishing your course, you can go sightseeing and enjoy yourself. So my dear brothers, we have to make alive again this order after it has been buried for centuries. What is the order which we have to make alive in the whole Islamic world? Is the order that everybody who have recited the kalima, the first order that they must do is the work of inviting people to Allah, or the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil, with the sacrifice of their own time and wealth in the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with intention to please Allah until Allah is pleased with them.